Chapter 1. The Poor Girl in the Gilded Mansion. The May sun streamed through the towering windows of the Blackwood estate, turning the marble floor into a glistening mirror. Nestled in the Hamptons, New York, this mansion wasn't just a home, it was a declaration of power. Gray stone walls, a floating crystal chandelier, and ornate iron gates all served as a silent reminder. This was the domain of Damien Blackwood, a 30-year-old billionaire known for his sharp business acumen and a heart as cold as ice. But in a quiet corner of the second-floor hallway, a 28-year-old woman knelt on the floor, clutching a rag and a bucket of soapy water. Luna Miller didn't belong in this world. Her black hair was tied up, a few strands clinging to her sweat-dampened forehead, and she wore a drab gray maid's uniform that clashed with the luxury around her. Luna's brown eyes, though tired, still sparkled with intelligence and a hint of stubbornness. "Oh, Flor, you're my eternal enemy," Luna muttered under her breath, just loud enough for only herself to hear. "Every time you shine, someone walks all over you. Maybe I should start a floor-cleaning empire. Earn enough to buy this mansion myself, huh?" She chuckled, the sound echoing softly through the still hallway, before quickly glancing around to make sure no one caught her chatting with the floor. Luna had once been a top economics student at New York University on a full scholarship, dreaming of a career on Wall Street. But that dream vanished 2 years ago when her grandmother, the only family she had, fell ill. Arthritis and heart complications left her unable to care for herself. The scholarship money wasn't enough, and Luna had to drop out of school, moving from the dorms to a tiny apartment in Brooklyn. The maid job at the Blackwood estate, while not high-paying, was her only means of covering hospital bills and rent. She paused her scrubbing, sat back against the wall, and sighed. Her phone buzzed in her uniform pocket, a message from the hospital nurse. "Grandma's stable, but the new medication is expensive. Can you manage?" Luna exhaled sharply, squeezing the rag in her hand. "Manage," she whispered. "Guess I'll have to sell a kidney." Then she smiled as if optimism was her final weapon. "Come on, Luna. You once solved a complex finance equation in 10 minutes. This is just another equation." The rhythmic sound of leather shoes clicking against the marble cut through her thoughts. Luna scrambled to her feet, bowed her head, and clutched the bucket like a student caught daydreaming. A tall man strode past, dressed in a flawlessly tailored black suit. Damien Blackwood, with dark brown hair, piercing icy blue eyes, and an air of authority that seemed to weigh down the room. He didn't glance at Luna, or anyone as he passed by, phone to his ear, voice low and curt. "No, I don't care about the excuse. Put the numbers on my desk by 5, or the whole team is out." Luna glanced at his retreating back and mumbled, "Yes, Mr. Iceberg. I'll make sure the floor's so clean you won't slip on your way to fire everyone." She mimicked a dramatic bow, then chuckled. But her smile faded as she recalled the rumors about Damien, a billionaire who never smiled, who had withdrawn from the world after his father's death 10 years ago. People said he ran Blackwood Enterprises like a machine, emotionless, ruthless, relentless. "Luna!" a voice called from the end of the hallway, making her jump. Mrs. Mildred, the longtime housekeeper, approached briskly, despite being well into her 60s. "What are you doing? Daydreaming like that? The main staircase needs to be mopped before tonight's event." "Yes, ma'am, I'm on it." Luna flashed a bright smile and lifted the bucket. "But Mrs. Mildred, what's the big event tonight? Could it be Mr. Blackwood's wife-hunting party?" She winked, clearly teasing. Mrs. Mildred laughed and shook her head. "You're a cheeky one. It's not a personal event, it's a business reception. But," she lowered her voice, glancing toward the staircase where Damien had just disappeared, "be careful. The master doesn't like staff meddling in his affairs." Luna nodded, but a thought sparked in her mind. Meddling? "I just want to mop the floor properly." She had no idea that in just a few weeks, she would step far beyond the role of a maid and into Damien's world, turning his entire life upside down. Lifting her bucket, she descended the staircase, humming an old lullaby her grandmother used to sing. In the cold, gilded halls of the mansion, Luna was like a stray sunbeam, unaware that her light was about to melt the icy walls Damien had built around his heart. You're watching Soul Stories, where every tale whispers of love, healing, and hope. If you believe that even the smallest act of kindness can change a life, and that love often arrives when we least expect it, don't forget to subscribe and be part of our journey. Now stay with us. The story is just beginning. Chapter 2. The Warning and the Price. The private office of Damian Blackwood in the Hamptons estate smelled faintly of polished wood and strong coffee. Sunlight poured through the tall windows, casting golden light across the walnut desk, where a file lay open next to a sleek laptop. Luna Miller, dustcloth in hand, lightly wiped the bookshelves, careful not to disturb the stacks of papers labeled things like Dubai contract or Q3 report. Her gray maid uniform couldn't hide the curious glint in her brown eyes, even as she tried to appear professional. "This place is heaven for finance nerds," Luna murmured under her breath. "If I were still at NYU, I'd be sitting here analyzing data, not wiping down surfaces." She smirked, pretending to sketch a chart in the air with an imaginary pen, then chuckled. But the smile faded the moment her thoughts turned to her grandmother's hospital bills. "Focus, Luna. Finish the job and go home." She moved toward the desk to wipe away fingerprints on the glass surface when a piece of paper caught her eye. Bold letters across the top read, "Board Meeting Proposal, Apex Corp Merger, 3 p.m. tomorrow, Manhattan." In the margin, a handwritten note scrawled messily, "Drop stock price by 25% before meeting." Luna frowned. With her background in economics, she knew that manipulating stock prices before a merger meeting was shady, likely a tactic to buy the company cheap or seize control. Probably just a misunderstanding, she told herself, about to walk away. But then the desk phone, still on speaker from a previous call, crackled to life. A deep, confident male voice rang out. "Damian, the meeting in Manhattan needs to wrap quickly. I'll let Blackwood's stock dip just before the hour. You sign the merger, and I'll handle the rest." Luna froze. That voice, she knew it. Suddenly she remembered the night before, during the partners' reception at the estate. While carrying a tray of drinks to the balcony, she had overheard Charles Vance, CEO of Apex Corp, whispering into his phone, "Blackwood will sign at the meeting. After that, the board is ours." She'd brushed it off as routine corporate talk, but now, piecing together the note and the phone call, the truth hit her. Apex was plotting to take over Blackwood Enterprises at tomorrow's meeting. Her heart pounded. "It's not my business," she muttered, trying to convince herself, but her NYU-trained mind wouldn't let it go. If Apex tanked Blackwood's stock before the meeting, they could pressure Damian into signing a bad deal or even oust him completely. This wasn't just shady, it was a tactical ambush. She glanced at the door to make sure no one was coming, then flipped through a few pages of the documents. A profit forecast graph had been clearly altered, marked down by nearly 20%. "Just as I thought," she whispered, hands trembling. "He needs to know. That meeting is a trap." 30 minutes later, Luna stood outside the meeting room, gripping her cleaning cloth like a lifeline. Inside, Damian sat at the head of the long table, impeccably dressed in a black suit, eyes fixed on his laptop. No one else was in the room. This was her chance. She knocked gently, her voice a little shaky. "Mr. Blackwood, I need to speak with you. It's important." Damian looked up, his icy blue eyes sweeping over her like a glacier. "You're the maid?" he said, his tone sharp and impatient. "What is it?" Luna took a deep breath and stepped in, forcing herself to stay calm. I saw the merger documents about Apex Corp, and I overheard Charles Vance's call. They're planning to drive down your company's stock before the meeting to pressure you into signing a bad deal. Last night at the party, I heard him talking about gaining board control. You shouldn't go to that meeting." "Enough," Damian cut her off, his voice sharp as a blade. He stood up tall, imposing, making Luna feel suddenly very small. "You're telling me you snooped through my documents, eavesdropped on calls, and now you think I should cancel a major meeting because of a maid's gut feeling?" "It's not a feeling," Luna fired back, her cheeks flushing. "I studied economics at NYU. I can read a financial report. The profit forecasts have been manipulated. If you check, you'll see I'm right. That meeting is a setup." Damian stared at her for a second, his expression unreadable. but then his eyes darkened. Who do you think you are? You're a maid, nothing more. You violated my privacy and now come here spinning stories. Why? Trying to play the hero? Or sell intel to my competitors? Luna stiffened, her eyes stinging with unshed tears, but she held her ground. I'm not lying, she shouted, her voice shaking with raw emotion. I'm trying to save your company. If you walk into that meeting blindly, you're going to lose everything. Damien stepped closer, his tone glacial. You're fired. Pack your things and be out of here within the hour. I don't tolerate anyone who crosses the line. Luna stood frozen, heart cracking wide open. She wanted to scream at him, to prove she was right, but her throat clenched shut. Fine, she said, her voice trembling. But when you lose your company in that boardroom, don't say I didn't warn you. She dropped the cloth onto the floor, turned, and walked out head held high, even though her heart was shattered. As Luna left the estate, her worn backpack slung over her shoulder, the fiery sunset bathed the road back to Brooklyn in deep crimson light. She didn't cry, not yet, but her heart felt unbearably heavy. I was right, she whispered, clutching her fists. He'll regret this. But deep down, she wondered, was doing the right thing worth it, if the price was the one job keeping her grandmother alive? Chapter 3. The scheme unfolds, and an unexpected return. The boardroom on the 45th floor of a Manhattan high-rise gleamed under bright lights, but the tension inside was razor-sharp. Damien Blackwood sat at the head of the table, sharp in a black suit, his piercing blue eyes sweeping across each board member. Across from him, Charles Vance, CEO of Apex Corp, wore a polished smile. On the large screen behind them, Blackwood Enterprises' stock chart blinked ominously, down 25% in just 24 hours, exactly as Luna had warned. This merger is a golden opportunity, Damien, Vance said smoothly. Your stock's down, but Apex will balance that with preferential shares. Sign today, and we'll take Blackwood Enterprises to the next level. Damien's fists clenched under the table, a growing sense of unease gnawing at him. The numbers on the screen didn't match the internal reports from just last week, and then Luna's trembling voice echoed in his mind. That meeting is a trap. They're driving down your stock to force your hand. He had fired her, convinced she was making it up, but now every word she'd said was playing out in real time. Charles, Damien cut in, his voice low and icy. Why doesn't Apex's earnings report match the data I have? And don't tell me the stock drop is just market fluctuation. Vance froze, his smile stiffening. Damien, you're overthinking this. It's just market noise. Let's sign time as money. But Damien didn't reach for the pen. Instead, he pressed a button on the desk phone. Bring in the backup reports. The door opened. His assistant entered with a folder internal documents, the real numbers Luna had pointed out. Damien flipped to a page and tapped a chart. Apex's profits were inflated by 20%. Blackwood's stock was manipulated through short sell orders linked to Apex accounts. This isn't a merger, Charles. It's a hostile takeover. The room went dead silent. Board members whispered in alarm. Vance's face went pale. You're bluffing, he barked. But Damien had already signaled to security. This meeting is over. The deal is off. Charles, my lawyers will be in touch. Damien exited the room, heart pounding. He had saved his company by a hair's breadth, but millions had already been lost in the stock dip. One question haunted him. That girl. How did she know? 3 days later, in a narrow alley in Brooklyn, Damien stood in front of a rundown apartment building. The walls were stained, the stairwell creaked, and the faint smell of toast hung in the air. Dressed in a plain coat, no suit, no tie, he looked strangely out of place among the working-class surroundings. In his hand, a thin file, Luna Miller's profile. His security team had uncovered everything. Luna, 23, full-ride scholarship to New York University, top of her economics class with near-perfect grades. She dropped out 2 years ago when her grandmother fell seriously ill. She took a cleaning job to cover medical bills. An old essay she wrote for the university's journal on merger risks showed the analytical brilliance he had dismissed. Damien took a deep breath and knocked on the door to Unit 4B. Footsteps shuffled behind it, then the door creaked open. Luna stood there, hair tied up, wearing an old t-shirt and jeans. Her brown eyes widened in shock, then narrowed. "Mr. Blackwood," she said, arms folded, "you here to retrieve the rag I threw at your office?" Damien's lips twitched almost a smile, but he held it back. "Ms. Miller, I owe you an apology." He raised a hand as if to pause any protest. "I was wrong not to listen. The Apex meeting was a trap. I nearly lost the company." Luna arched a brow, skeptical. "Congrats on dodging the bullet, but I'm no longer your employee. Why are you here?" Damien stepped inside uninvited. The apartment was small but warm, with a worn rug, family photos on the wall, and a faint herbal scent in the air. In the corner, her elderly grandmother lay in bed, breathing weakly. Damien lowered his voice. "I did some research. You're a brilliant student with rare analytical skill. I want to offer you a position as my personal strategic assistant. High salary, full benefits, and I promise you respect." Luna gave a bitter laugh, her eyes sharp. "Strategic assistant? You fired me for speaking up, and now you want me back?" "Thanks, but I don't need charity." Damien didn't flinch. He met her gaze, his tone sincere. "This isn't charity. You saved my company even when I didn't deserve it. I need someone like you, not just for your intelligence, but for your courage. Think about it. I'll wait for your answer." He placed his business card on the table, gave a respectful nod, and left. Luna shut the door, heart pounding. She stared at the card, then turned to her grandmother, who had just stirred awake. "Grandma, that billionaire guy, he wants me to work for him. I don't know if I can believe it." Her grandmother smiled weakly, voice raspy. "Luna, you're a gem whether you're scrubbing floors or sitting in boardrooms. He sees that now, even if it's late. Don't let pride hold you back. Give it a try for yourself, for me, for the dream you once had." Luna bit her lip, eyes stinging. The hospital bill on the table glared back at her like a reminder. She picked up the card and whispered, "All right, Mr. Iceberg, I'll give you a shot, but don't you dare underestimate me again." The next morning, Luna dialed the number on the card. "Mr. Blackwood, I accept. But let's get one thing clear, I'm not your maid. I'm Luna Miller, and you better keep up with me." On the other end of the line, Damien laughed for the first time in years. And in that moment, a strange warmth cracked through the ice in his chest. What Luna didn't know was that this decision would pull her into the heart of Damien's world and unravel secrets far greater than she could ever imagine. Chapter 4. The Reluctant Assistant and Multi-Million-Dollar Deals. The 50th floor of Blackwood Enterprises in Manhattan was brightly lit, but the atmosphere inside the boardroom was taut as a bowstring. A massive screen displayed intricate financial graphs, while around the conference table, executives in expensive suits argued heatedly. In the corner, Luna Miller stood quietly, holding an iPad, her sharp brown eyes scanning the numbers on the screen. Just 3 weeks ago, she had been scrubbing floors at Damien Blackwood's Hamptons estate. Now she was his personal, strategic assistant, a title even she still struggled to believe was hers. Dressed in a simple navy blue suit, her hair tied up, Luna looked nothing like the gray uniformed maid she had once been. But inside, she was still Luna, quick-witted, slightly stubborn, and prone to mumbling to herself. "Oh, great. They're arguing like it's a rap battle," she whispered, watching the CFO gesture wildly over equity stakes. "If I can't keep up, Mr. Iceberg's going to send me right back to scrubbing floors." At the head of the table, Damien sat in a sharp black suit, his deep blue eyes calm yet piercing. He spoke little, only occasionally posing brief questions that instantly silenced the room. Since the Apex Corp fiasco, Blackwood Enterprises had lost millions due to the stock crash, and today's meeting was pivotal. They were strategizing to reclaim shares from opportunistic investors who had taken advantage of the chaos. Though new to her role, Luna had been assigned to analyze risk, an exhilarating yet pressure-filled challenge. "Luna?" Damien suddenly called, his voice deep and clear. Every head turned toward her. "What's your opinion on Mr. Carter's proposal?" Luna's heart skipped a beat. Mr. Carter, a seasoned investor, had just proposed selling 10% of the company's shares to a Dubai investment fund to offset losses. She took a deep breath, recalling her sleepless nights studying company files and financial theory courses online. "Sir," she began, her voice steadier than she expected, "selling to Dubai would provide immediate liquidity, but that fund has a history of gradually taking over. Last year's data shows they pressured 3 smaller companies to give up majority control within 2 years. If we retain the shares and take out a short-term loan from Morgan Bank instead, we can stabilize without surrendering power." The room fell silent. Mr. Carter frowned slightly, but Damien gave a rare smile. "Thank you, Miss Miller. Please continue, Mr. Carter." Luna exhaled, her heart still pounding. "You made it, Luna. Survived a lion's den," she muttered to herself, pretending to adjust her iPad to hide her grin. The meeting dragged on until late evening, and when everyone else had left, only Luna and Damien remained in the boardroom. Documents were strewn across the table, and the Manhattan skyline glittered through the tall windows. Luna slumped into a chair, slipped off her heels, and mumbled, "Dear feet, I'm sorry for torturing you all day." Damien, reviewing a report, chuckled a warm, unfamiliar sound that made Luna look up in surprise. "Do you always talk to yourself like that?" he asked, eyes still on the papers, a smirk playing at the corners of his lips. Luna blushed but quickly recovered with her usual sass. "Well, Mr. Iceberg, at least I'm my own loyal audience. You should try it, it's therapeutic." Damien looked up at her. "You did well today. Your analysis on the Dubai fund changed the course of the meeting. I chose the right person." Luna shrugged, feigning nonchalance, though her heart warmed at the praise. "Not bad, I guess, but you owe me a coffee for pulling 3 all-nighters to read those reports." "Fair enough," Damien replied, grabbing his coat. "Now?" Luna blinked. "Now? Do you know what time it is? It's 11 o'clock. Manhattan isn't Brooklyn with its 24/7 cafes." He gave a genuine smile this time. "I know a place. Come on, Ms. Miller. Consider it a reward for saving my neck again." Over the next week, Luna became a whirlwind inside Blackwood Enterprises. She didn't just analyze risks, she proposed bold strategies, including a winning move in an international deal with a Japanese corporation. In a video conference with Tokyo, Luna presented market data on Asia with such clarity that the Japanese partners nodded approvingly and agreed to a $50 million investment. The executives who once doubted the young girl now watched her with growing respect. But the biggest surprise to Luna was Damien himself. He remained cold and guarded with most, but around her, subtle shifts began to show. One afternoon when she was struggling with a jammed printer, he walked over, fixed it in 2 minutes and muttered, "You're brilliant with charts, hopeless with machines." Luna burst out laughing. "And you're great with gadgets, terrible with small talk. We're even 1-to-1. Late nights in the office became their norm. They sat across from each other, surrounded by documents and lukewarm coffee, discussing strategy with occasional teasing in between. One night, as Luna shared how her Wall Street dream had been derailed, Damien looked at her, his voice low and sincere. "You'll get there, Luna. Not because of me, because you deserve to." Luna fell silent, heart pounding. It wasn't his words, but the look in his eyes. Warm, respectful, and utterly genuine that stirred something inside her. She smirked, masking her emotion. "Thanks, but don't get too soft on me, Mr. Iceberg. I still haven't forgiven you for firing me." Damien laughed, and for the first time, both of them felt that invisible thread forming between them. Not just boss and assistant anymore, but 2 once lonely souls now finding something quietly extraordinary in the glow of office lights. Chapter 5. The Old Pendant, a Missing Memory. The warm yellow glow from a small cafe in Manhattan's Lower East Side lit up Luna Miller's face, making her brown eyes sparkle. She sat across from Damien Blackwood, absently spinning her lukewarm latte, laughing as she told a story about nearly burning the kitchen down while cooking for her grandmother. "I swear, Mr. Iceberg," Luna giggled, winking. "Smoke was everywhere. Grandma and I ran outside like we were in an action movie. She's banned me from the kitchen ever since." Damien, his navy shirt unbuttoned at the collar, leaned back in his chair, laughing a sound that had once been rare, but was now familiar to Luna. "You're a national disaster," he teased, though his deep blue eyes were soft, as if trying to memorize every expression on her face. He reached forward, gently touching the thin silver chain around her neck, where a tiny pendant glimmered under the light. You always wear this? It looks special? Luna shrugged, her smile faltering just slightly. Yeah, my grandma gave it to me. It's important. She didn't say more, but Damien's touch made her heart flutter. These moments, his accidental hand brushes, the short hugs when he pulled her out of street traffic, the fierce debates over business strategy that ended in quiet smiles had become their own kind of rhythm. Over the past week, their bond had deepened in the quietest ways. One late night at the office, when Luna had fallen asleep among spreadsheets, Damien had gently draped his coat over her and stood watching her for a long time. Another time after closing the Japan deal, he'd pulled her out onto the office balcony and pointed at the city lights. See that? This city belongs to people like you who never give up. Luna had joked, are you complimenting me or yourself? But when he looked at her, not smiling, and simply said, you, she had blushed and turned away to hide the sudden thudding of her heart. And then there was the moment they couldn't ignore. After a grueling board meeting, long after the office had emptied, Damien had taken her hand and pulled her close. Luna, he murmured, voice husky, do you have any idea how much you drive me crazy? She'd meant to make a joke, but before she could, he kissed her a soft, hesitant kiss that left both of them stunned. When they pulled away, Luna whispered, you don't play fair. Damien smiled and wrapped her in his arms, and for the first time, Luna felt like she truly belonged somewhere. But that warm light was about to be dimmed by the shadows of a forgotten past. 2 days later, Luna sat in a Brooklyn hospital room, tightly holding her grandmother's hand. The monitor beeped steadily, though her breathing was growing shallow. Luna had taken a half-day off from Blackwood Enterprises, telling Damien only, family emergency. He didn't press, only nodded and said, go. If you need anything, call me. Her grandmother opened her eyes and gave a faint smile. Luna, my light, she whispered hoarsely. Luna fought back tears, stroking her hair. Don't say that, Grandma. You've got to get better so I can brag about my million-dollar deals. The old woman shook her head, her trembling hand pointing to a small wooden box on the bedside table. Open it, dear. There's something I have to tell you. Frowning, Luna picked up the box and lifted the lid. Inside was a faded photo of a little girl, around 5 years old, wearing a silver necklace with a tiny pendant, identical to the one Luna now wore. Next to it was a yellowed piece of handwritten paper. I'm not your biological grandmother, the old woman said, voice breaking. When you were 5, I found you in a park near my house alone, shivering. You didn't remember anything. All you had was that photo and the necklace. I took you in, named you Luna because you were as bright as the moon. I'm sorry I never found your real family. Luna froze. Her ears rang. She stared at the photo, then reached up to touch the silver pendant around her neck. Grandma, what are you saying? I'm not your granddaughter. Tears spilled from her eyes. Then who am I? Where did I come from? Her grandmother squeezed her hand, weaker now. You're my Luna, no matter what. But find the truth, sweetheart. You deserve to know. She smiled one last time, then closed her eyes. The monitor let out a flat tone. Luna screamed, clutching her, sobbing like a lost child. The funeral was small and simple, just a few neighbors and hospital staff. Damien attended, standing quietly in the back, his gaze full of empathy. After the others left, he approached and placed a hand gently on Luna's shoulder. I'm here, if you need anything, he said softly. Luna nodded but didn't speak. Her heart was shattered. That night in the now empty Brooklyn apartment, Luna sat on the floor, holding the faded photo and the silver pendant. She stared at the little girl in the picture herself, but a version she didn't recognize. Who am I? She whispered, tears rolling down her cheeks. The silver pendant, with its glinting charm, was the only clue to a past long buried. She hadn't told Damien yet not this, not the secret that suddenly overshadowed everything between them. Their growing bond, however warm, now sat beneath the weight of something missing. Luna knew she had to find answers. What she didn't know was that those answers would soon unravel a truth that would shake both their worlds. Still following the story? If this story found you outside of Soul Stories, we invite you home to where every touching tale begins with truth, hope, and heart. Chapter 6. The Photo in the Wooden Frame, A Ghost of Love. The Heritage Library in Damien Blackwood's Hamptons estate looked like a room pulled straight from another century. Towering walnut bookshelves held leather-bound volumes, old documents, and dust-covered mementos. Sunlight streamed through the tall windows, casting shadows across the wooden floor in long, flickering patterns. Luna Miller stood in the center of the room, a stack of papers in her hands, her sharp brown eyes scanning the shelves. Damien had tasked her with organizing his late father's personal archive, a seemingly simple chore that felt more like unearthing buried secrets. "God, this place is a time maze," Luna muttered, brushing dust off an old ledger. "If Mr. Iceberg wants me to be a librarian, I'm asking for a raise." She smirked, imagining herself wearing a wizard hat and sorting books with a wand like Harry Potter. 3 weeks had passed since her grandmother's death, and Luna still hadn't told Damien the truth about her identity. Their relationship had grown deeper stolen kisses in the office, teasing, late-night coffees, accidental touches that lingered a second too long, but the emptiness inside her only grew wider. She feared that the truth about her past might destroy everything they'd built. "Luna, you done yet?" Damien's voice echoed from the library doorway, breaking her thoughts. He stepped in, sleeves rolled up on a crisp white shirt, his dark brown hair tousled. His deep blue eyes held a glint of amusement. "You mumbling to the bookshelf again?" Luna flushed and held up the ledger like a shield. "You didn't say this library was a museum. I got lost in your dad's paperwork. I might even find buried treasure in here." Damien chuckled, walking closer. "If you find treasure, we split it. But careful, my father liked to hide surprises." He pointed to a shelf in the corner, where a wooden box with carved patterns sat tucked behind some books. "Start with that." Luna nodded and pulled down the box. Inside were old keepsakes, a company badge, handwritten letters, and a faded wooden photo frame. She opened it and lifted the photograph, a faded family portrait. A young couple stood beside two children, a boy around 7 and a girl maybe 5. Luna froze, heart racing. The little girl wore a silver necklace with a tiny pendant identical to the one Luna always wore. "Damien!" Luna called, her voice trembling as she held out the photo. Who is this?" she asked, pointing to the girl, her eyes locked on the familiar pendant. Damien stepped closer and looked. His face paled, his expression darkening. "That's my little sister," he said hoarsely. "Her name was Lily. She disappeared when I was 7 and she was 5. My father never stopped searching for her. He said she always wore this necklace. It was a gift from our mother before she died." Luna felt the floor vanish beneath her. She reached for the necklace at her throat, then looked at the photo again, hands shaking. The little girl had the same wide brown eyes, the same dark hair, exactly like the photo her grandmother had given her. No way," she whispered. "My grandma. She said she found me in a park when I was 5, with nothing but a photo and this necklace. Damien, could I be Lily?" They both stood in stunned silence, eyes locked as if the world had stopped spinning. Their love, every kiss, every warm glance, every whispered moment now hung in the air like a ghost wrapped in guilt. If Luna was Lily, they were siblings. Everything they'd built could come crashing down. "No," Damien shook his head, voice shaky. "It can't be. Maybe it's a coincidence. The necklace isn't unique. There could be others like it." But even as he said it, his tone betrayed doubt. Luna let out a bitter laugh, tears welling. "Coincidence? Damien, look at her. She is me. And if I'm your sister, then we—" Her throat closed. She couldn't finish. "I need time," she whispered, backing away. "Luna, wait!" Damien stepped forward, reaching for her hand, but she pulled back, eyes full of pain. "Don't, Damien. Don't touch me. Not until we know the truth." She turned and fled the library, leaving Damien standing beside the photo, frozen. He looked at the little girl in the wooden frame, heart heavy. The love he felt for Luna, the one thing that had brought him back to life, was now haunted by a past he never saw coming. Luna ran out of the estate and caught the next train back to Brooklyn, tears streaming down her cheeks. She didn't know how to face the possibility that the worst was true. But she knew one thing: she had to find the truth, even if it meant destroying everything she'd come to love. What she didn't know was that the truth would soon reveal a secret even bigger than she imagined and change both of their lives forever. Chapter 7. Leaving to Protect What's Right. Luna Miller's small apartment in Brooklyn now felt like nothing but a hollow shell. The worn-out rug, the faded family photo on the wall, and the faint scent of herbal medicine from the days her grandmother was still alive all felt like knives twisting in her chest. Luna sat on the floor, her old backpack beside her, gripping the silver necklace she had taken off after the devastating moment in Damian Blackwood's Heritage Library. The old family photo with the little girl Lily, Damian's missing sister, haunted her, along with the unanswerable question, "Am I Lily? Did I fall in love with my own brother?" She should have felt joy at uncovering a lead to her real family. Instead, her heart ached with unbearable pain. Every kiss, every hug, every tender look from Damian now felt like a sin. She couldn't face him not like this. She couldn't even face herself. "I have to go," she whispered, tears rolling down her cheeks. "Whatever the truth is, I can't stay." She wrote a short letter and placed it on the table beside the silver necklace. "Damian, I'm sorry. I can't keep working for you. I can't be near you. Don't look for me. Let it be as if nothing ever started. Luna." She picked up her backpack, only a few clothes, the old photo from her grandmother, and a train ticket to a small town in Maine. She chose the town because it was far from New York, far from Damian, far from the ghost of their twisted love. As the train rumbled forward, Luna stared out at the fading Brooklyn skyline and murmured, "Goodbye, Mr. Iceberg. I wish I'd never saved you." At Blackwood Enterprises in Manhattan, Damian Blackwood moved like a ghost. He canceled all meetings, stopped running the company, and locked himself inside his office. Stacks of files piled up on his desk, but he only stared at the silver necklace Luna had left in the library. Her letter, though brief, cut deeper than any knife. "She left," he whispered hoarsely, "because of me, because we might be siblings." Damian had never known pain like this, not even when his father passed away. His love for Luna, the love that had brought him back to life after years of emptiness, now felt like a curse. He slammed his fist on the desk, sending a cup of coffee spilling across the wood. "No," he shouted, but deep down he was terrified. The photo of Lily, the necklace, Luna's story, they matched in ways that were too precise to ignore. He hired a private investigator to find Luna, but it was as if she had vanished. No digital trail, no social media, nothing. Damian withdrew from the world. The only place he visited outside the office was the Hamptons estate, where he sat in the Heritage Library, staring at the family photo, asking himself again and again, "How could I fall in love with my sister?" One rainy afternoon, Damian drove out to a small house in the suburban Long Island home of Mrs. Mildred, the longtime housekeeper who had served his father for decades. Now in her 70s, Mrs. Mildred still had her brisk movements and kind eyes. She greeted him with hot tea, but noticed immediately the sorrow etched into his face. "Young master, what's happened to you? You look like the world slipped away." Damian sat on the sofa, clutching the faded family photo frame from the library. And then he told her everything from Luna, the maid who became his brilliant assistant, the love that had blossomed between them, and the crushing discovery in the library that led them to suspect Luna was actually Lily. "I love her, Mrs. Mildred," he said, voice cracking. "But if she's my sister, I can't live with that. She ran away, and I don't know what to do." Mrs. Mildred went still, her eyes lowering, as though wrestling with a decades-old burden. She stood, retrieved an old tin box from the cupboard, her hands trembling. "Young master," she said quietly, "I made a promise to your father to take this secret to my grave, but staying silent now will only hurt you both. I'm sorry, sir. I have to tell you." Damian's brow furrowed, his heart pounding. "What secret, Mrs. Mildred?" She sat down, her voice steady but slow. "Your parents were married for years but couldn't have children. They adopted you as a baby from an orphanage. You were their joy. They never wanted you to feel different, so they kept it from you. 2 years later, your mother gave birth to a daughter, Lily. Your father loved you both equally, and he asked me never to speak of it, to protect the bond between you. Damien froze as if struck by lightning. I was adopted? He shook his head in disbelief. So Lily was their biological daughter, and Luna, if she's Lily. Mrs. Mildred nodded, eyes glistening. If Luna is Lily, then she is your parents' real daughter. But you, Damien, you're not her biological brother. Your love isn't wrong. Damien sat there holding the photo frame, hands trembling. Pain mixed with hope rose like a tide. He wasn't Luna's brother. Their love wasn't a sin. But then he remembered her letter and his heart twisted all over again. She left, Mrs. Mildred. She's out there thinking we can never be together. I have to find her. I have to tell her the truth. Mrs. Mildred placed a firm hand on his shoulder. Then find her, young master. Don't let the past steal the happiness you both deserve. Damien nodded, determination burning in his eyes. He left her home carrying more than just a revelation, he carried renewed purpose. But Luna was gone, carrying with her a heart full of pain and a secret she didn't yet know had already been unraveled. What Damien didn't know was that the journey to find her would take him farther than he ever imagined, and lead them both to a truth even greater than the one they feared. Chapter 8. The Charity Article. An Unmistakable Face. 6 months had passed since Luna Miller vanished from Damien Blackwood's life. On the 50th floor of Blackwood Enterprises in Manhattan, silence still haunted the office. Financial charts, multi-million-dollar contracts, and the dazzling city lights outside the window meant nothing to Damien anymore. He sat at his desk, his hair tousled, deep blue eyes tired, fingers holding the silver necklace Luna had left behind in the Heritage Library. Her short letter, "Don't look for me," still lay in his drawer, but Damien had never stopped searching. He had hired private investigators, followed every possible lead from the Brooklyn train station to every charity organization Luna had ever mentioned. But she had disappeared as if into thin air. She didn't want to be found, he whispered hoarsely. And yet Mrs. Mildred's revelation that he was adopted, and Lily, the missing little girl, was the biological child of his parents, had rekindled his hope. If Luna was Lily, then they were not siblings. Their love had never been wrong. He had to find her. He had to tell her the truth. One morning, while scrolling through emails, Damien opened a message from his security team, a small article on a charity website in Oregon. The headline was simple: free classes for poor children on Whidbey Island. He almost skipped it until the attached photo made his heart stop. In the image, a young woman with her dark hair tied up, sparkling brown eyes, and a soft, bittersweet smile stood at the front of a classroom, chalk in hand, teaching math to a group of children. She wore a plain sweater, her expression gentle. It was Luna. There was no mistaking it. "Luna," Damien whispered, his fingers trembling as they touched the screen. Within 2 hours, he had booked a flight to Seattle and rented a boat to Whidbey Island, carrying the old family photo and Luna's silver necklace in his coat pocket. Hope churned in his chest along with fear. Would she forgive him? Did she still love him? Whidbey Island, Oregon, was a peaceful place, with wide grassy fields, breezy beaches, and small wooden cottages. Luna stood inside a makeshift classroom, a room borrowed from the local church, holding chalk, explaining division to a group of poor children. For 6 months, she had lived anonymously, working as a volunteer in exchange for food and shelter. She had tried to forget Damien, forget New York, forget the devastating possibility that they were siblings. But every night, thinking of Damien made her cry. "Mr. Iceberg," she would whisper, "how am I supposed to deal with this love?" She loved Damien, but it was a love she believed to be forbidden. Class had just ended. The children rushed outside to play. Luna was wiping the board, muttering, "They're smart, but total troublemakers. Maybe I really should learn to be a real teacher." She chuckled until she heard footsteps behind her. She turned and her heart stopped. Damien Blackwood stood in the doorway, soaked from the rain, his dark coat clinging to him, hair plastered to his forehead. His deep blue eyes locked onto her, full of pain and hope. In his hands, her silver necklace, and the old family photo from the library. "Luna," he said, voice rough, "I found you." Luna stepped back, gripping the chalk tightly, her eyes burning. "Damien, what are you doing here? I told you not to find me," she cried, her voice trembling. "We can't. You know why." Damien stepped forward, never breaking eye contact. "Luna, listen to me. There's something I need to tell you. I learned the truth from Mrs. Mildred, my father's old housekeeper." He took a breath, steadying himself. "I'm adopted. My parents took me in from an orphanage when I was a baby. 2 years later, they had a biological daughter, Lily. That was you. You, Luna, are their daughter. But I'm not your brother." Luna stood frozen, as if struck by lightning. She shook her head. "No, you're lying. The photo, the necklace, everything matches. I am Lily. I have to be your sister." Damien stepped closer, gently placing the photo and necklace on the table. "You are Lily. That part is true, but I'm not your biological brother. I was adopted. Our love was never wrong." His eyes shone with unshed tears. "I love you, Luna, and I can't live without you." Luna burst into tears, the dam finally breaking. She rushed into his arms, clutching him tightly, sobbing uncontrollably. "Damien, I thought we couldn't," she choked, her fist grabbing the fabric of his coat. "I left because I loved you, because I didn't want to do something wrong." Damien held her close, pressing a kiss to her hair, his voice shaking. "You didn't do anything wrong. You are my light, Luna. And now we can start again. No more ghosts, no more doubt." They stood there in that little classroom on Whidbey Island, the rain tapping softly against the window, holding each other like they never wanted to let go again. The truth had erased every fear. Luna was Lily, the daughter of Damien's parents. But Damien was not her brother. Their love, tested by the weight of the past, was finally free to bloom. But their journey wasn't over. Luna now faced a choice: return to New York with Damien and face the world that once drove her away, or stay on this quiet island where she had found peace. And Damien, carrying the truth of his origins, stood at a crossroads of his own. Fight to preserve this love, or let the past pull them apart once more. Their love had survived the storm, but what came next would determine whether it could truly last forever. You're watching Soul Stories exclusive to our channel. If you're still with us, drop a comment we read and cherish them all. Subscribe to support more heartfelt, original stories. Thanks for being part of the Soul Stories family. Chapter 9. Return and Rebirth. May sunlight stream through the Manhattan skyline, casting a golden glow over the Blackwood Enterprises logo on the 50th floor. Luna Miller stood by the office window, not as the gray uniform maid or the reluctant assistant, but as Lily Blackwood, biological daughter of Augustus Blackwood and rightful heir to the family legacy. The silver necklace around her neck shimmered, not a symbol of sorrow anymore, but one of truth. Beside her stood Damien Blackwood, dressed in a deep navy suit, his piercing blue eyes filled with admiration and unhidden love. 1 week earlier, on Whidbey Island, Oregon, Luna had fallen into Damien's arms, sobbing when she learned he was adopted, and she was Lily, meaning they weren't siblings. Their love, once shadowed by fear, was now free. "Come back with me, Luna," Damien had whispered, brushing away her tears. "Not for the legacy, because I need you." Luna hesitated, then smiled with a shaky voice. "All right, Mr. Iceberg, but you have to promise not to fire me again." They flew back to New York on the same flight, hands interlocked. As Luna gazed at the glowing city lights through the airplane window, she murmured, "Manhattan, I thought I'd never return. Seems like fate's got jokes." Damien squeezed her hand, smiling. "Fate brought you to me? No complaints here." Their first stop back in New York was a top DNA lab in Manhattan to confirm Luna's lineage. The results arrived 48 hours later. Unsurprising, yet still overwhelming, Luna was 99.9% genetically matched to Augustus and Evelyn Blackwood, using stored samples. Holding the paper, Luna stood speechless, tears rolling down her cheeks. I really am Lily," she whispered, clutching the old photo her grandmother had given her. Damien placed a steady hand on her shoulder. You've always been Lily, but to me you'll always be Luna, the woman who saved me. With the truth verified, Luna reclaimed her rightful identity. Damien offered her the co-executive role at Blackwood Enterprises, but she gently declined. I'm not made for boardrooms all day, she said with a wink. I want to do something that actually matters. Damien nodded, and together they revived the Augustus Foundation, a charity supporting underprivileged students and missing children, named after his father. Luna became its co-director, leading strategy and fundraising, finally putting her NYU economics training to use. The Augustus Foundation quickly gained national attention. Luna launched free educational programs, scholarships, and search initiatives for lost children, many inspired by her own journey. Standing before a room of donors, her voice rang clear. Every child deserves a chance, just as my grandmother once gave me. From the audience, Damien watched her with pride. She was born for this, he murmured, smiling. But the path wasn't all sunshine. The ever-curious New York media swirled with gossip the moment Luna appeared by Damien's side. Tabloids ran headlines like "Billionaire Blackwood and the Mystery Woman, Love or Family Secret." Some labeled Luna a gold digger, accusing her of using her bloodline for inheritance. The pressure mounted. Even Luna, strong as she was, felt the sting. They don't know me, she said bitterly to Damien. I just want to do the right thing. Damien took her hand, unwavering. Then we'll tell the truth, not to prove anything, but to live honestly. They held a press conference at the Plaza Hotel, facing a wall of cameras and reporters. Damien stood at the microphone, his voice steady. I am the adopted son of Augustus and Evelyn Blackwood. Luna Miller now. Lily Blackwood is their biological daughter and rightful heir. But our value isn't in titles. It's in our hearts, our trust, and what we give back to the world. Luna stepped forward, gripping her silver necklace, and faced the crowd. I was once a maid, a dropout, a lost child, but I was loved, I was believed in, and now I want to give that back. The Augustus Foundation is not just my father's legacy, it's a promise that no one will be left behind. The room erupted in applause. Though skeptical at first, the media began to shift their tone. New headlines read, "From Maid to Heiress, the journey of Lily Blackwood." Public opinion turned, and Luna, once accused of scheming, became a symbol of resilience and grace. One evening, in the Blackwood Enterprises office, Luna and Damien sat together, reviewing the foundation's expansion plans. The Manhattan lights sparkled outside, bearing witness to their journey. I never thought I'd be back here, Luna murmured, sitting next to Mr. Iceberg, running million-dollar charity initiatives. Damien chuckled and pulled her close. The iceberg melted the moment you walked in, Luna. You didn't just save my company, you saved me. He kissed her forehead, his voice low. Together we'll heal the world the way you healed me. Luna leaned into him, fingers grazing the silver necklace, her smile radiant. And you healed me, Damien. Whether I'm Luna or Lily, I know this is where I belong, right here, with you. They looked out at the city, the place where dreams are built and wounds are mended. The Augustus Foundation was more than a legacy. It was a testament to their love, a love that overcame class, bloodlines, and judgment, and left a mark that would endure forever. But their story was not over. One final secret buried deep in Augustus's legacy waited to be uncovered, a truth that would challenge them once more and prove that their love could survive anything. Chapter 10, The Seaside Wedding, Choosing Each Other the Right Way. The June sky over Whidbey Island, Oregon, was as blue as a promise. Ocean winds swept across the grassy fields, carrying the scent of salt and peace that Luna Miller, now known as Lily Blackwood, had found during her 6-month exile here. The little charity classroom inside the local church still echoed with the laughter of underprivileged children. Luna stood at the chalkboard, patiently teaching them addition and subtraction like a real teacher. But today, something felt different. The kids kept glancing at the door, whispering, giggling, as if guarding a secret. What are you all whispering about, you little gremlins? Luna raised an eyebrow, mock stern. If you don't finish this math problem, I'm confiscating your candy. She turned back to the board, muttering, being a teacher's harder than being a billionaire's assistant. If Mr. Iceberg saw this, he'd be laughing his suit off. Her smile softened when she thought of Damian Blackwood, the man she had lost and found again. The man she had fallen in love with all over again. 6 months earlier, Damian had shown up soaking wet in this very classroom, telling her he was adopted and she was Lily, the biological daughter of his father. They weren't siblings. Their love had never been wrong. The embrace they shared in the rain had melted the past and brought Luna back to New York, where she claimed her truth and helped Damian rebuild the Augustus Foundation. But Whidbey remained special, the place where they found each other, and the place Luna wanted to return to thank the children who had unknowingly helped her heal. The children's whispers snapped her back to the present. She turned, ready to jokingly scold them again, and froze. Damian stood in the doorway, sleeves rolled up on a crisp white shirt, his dark brown hair tousled by the wind. His deep blue eyes met hers, gentle and steady, just like the day he found her here. In his hand, a bouquet of wildflowers, little daisies plucked from the nearby field. The children cheered. One shouted, "Miss Luna, your boyfriend's here!" Luna flushed, still clutching the chalk. "Damian, what are you doing here?" She glared playfully at the kids. "You traitors! You knew about this?" But her heart pounded, her gut whispering that something big was about to happen. Damian stepped inside, eyes never leaving her. The kids quieted instantly, wide-eyed like they were watching a movie. He knelt on one knee before Luna, holding out the wildflowers. His voice was low but steady. "Luna Miller, Lily Blackwood, or whatever name you choose to go by, I spent my whole life searching for something I didn't know I needed. When I thought you were my sister, I was ready to give up everything just to protect you. But the truth gave me something greater, the chance to love you fully, rightly, with all my heart." Luna covered her mouth, her eyes flooding. The kids gasped. A few clapped in delight. Damian's voice cracked with emotion. "You weren't someone I lost. You were someone I never had the chance to hold the right way. Now give me that chance to choose you again, with truth and with love." From his pocket, he pulled out a simple silver ring, glinting under the soft light. "Luna, will you marry me?" The room exploded in cheers. Luna stood frozen, looking from Damian to the necklace around her neck, the gift from her grandmother, the symbol of her truth. She nodded, tears falling freely. Her voice shook. Yes, Mr. Iceberg, but only if you promise never to fire me from your life again." She laughed through her tears. Damian stood, slid the ring onto her finger, and pulled her into his arms. The kids clapped wildly. Some ran up and hugged them, shouting, "Miss Luna's getting married!" Luna leaned into Damian and whispered, "You're playing dirty, roping in the kids like that." He kissed her forehead and grinned. "I learned from you, if you're going to do it big." 3 months later, the Whidbey beach glowed under the sunset. A small wedding was held right where Damian had once found Luna, not lavish, no high society guests, just those who mattered most. The children from the charity class wore matching shirts that read, "Team Luna," lining the aisle with wildflowers, giggling. Mrs. Mildred, Damian's longtime housekeeper, sat front row, eyes shimmering. Old neighbors from Brooklyn and staff from the Augustus Foundation had come too, bringing warm smiles and teary eyes. Luna walked out in a simple white dress, her hair loose, the silver necklace gleaming at her collarbone. She wore no extravagant makeup, but her brown eyes shone like the future itself. Damian, in a white shirt and dress pants, waited by the waves, eyes locked on her. When she reached him, he took her hand and whispered, "You're more beautiful than Manhattan at night." She smirked and teasing, "Don't get too sweet, Mr. Iceberg. I'm still keeping the right to avenge that firing back in the day." The kids erupted in laughter. Mrs. Mildred chuckled, shaking her head. The ceremony unfolded beneath the setting sun, with simple but sincere vows. Damian looked into her eyes, voice steady. "I searched for you my whole life, not knowing who you were. From the girl who mopped floors to the assistant who stunned me, to the woman I love, you are everything. I vow to cherish you, love you, and heal the world with you." Luna, eyes glistening, replied, "You're not the one I knew in childhood, but you are the one I chose in adulthood. Our love walked through shadows, but it came at the right time, with the right person. I vow to love you, tease you, and never let you win every argument. The kids whooped and clapped as Damien laughed and pulled her into a kiss. The reception was a casual beach picnic. The kids played tag, snacked on Luna's homemade cupcakes, not burnt this time. Mrs. Mildred told stories about Damien's father, who, she said, would be smiling from heaven. One little boy from Luna's class ran up and handed her a wildflower bouquet. "Miss Luna, you have to be happy forever, okay?" She hugged him tightly, eyes misty. "I promise, kiddo." Back in New York, Luna and Damien continued leading the Augustus Foundation, expanding scholarships and child recovery programs. When word of their wedding broke, media attention swirled again. Some tabloids still cast shadows, but most of the public rallied behind them, calling them the couple who defied judgment. In a televised interview, Luna said, "Integrity and courage led us to the truth. You don't choose your past, but you do choose how you love." The Augustus Foundation became a symbol of hope. Luna launched a major campaign, raising $10 million to build schools for underprivileged kids, inspired by her would-be classroom. Damien, though still running Blackwood Enterprises, spent more and more time at the foundation. Luna often teased him, "If you fall behind, I'm assigning you chalkboard duty." He'd just smile and pull her close. "I volunteer as long as you're there." One night in their cozy Manhattan apartment, not as grand as the Hamptons, but filled with warmth, Luna sat beside Damien, looking at the family photo from the Heritage Library. She touched her necklace and whispered, "You know, I used to think I was lost forever. Turns out I was just finding my way to you." Damien kissed her, voice low. "And I was waiting, not knowing it was you. Loving you at the right time, the right way, it's never been wrong." They looked out at the glowing city, knowing that while the past had separated them in childhood, they had found each other completely as adults. But Augustus Blackwood's legacy still held one final secret. In an old keepsake box, Luna discovered her father's journal detailing a secret fund for orphans, children like Damien once was. The last entry read, "For Lily and for the son I chose Damien, let them make the world better." Luna and Damien decided to expand the Augustus Foundation, not just for students and missing children, but for orphans too, in honor of Damien's journey. They stood hand in hand outside the first school bearing Augustus's name, knowing their love had not only healed themselves, but thousands of lives. The Whidbey Beach wedding was not just their beginning. It was proof that integrity, courage, and love at the right time can overcome any shadow. And Luna, with her silver necklace, and Damien, with a once frozen heart, had chosen each other the right way, forever. Integrity and courage always lead to truth. Loving the right person at the right time has never been wrong, no matter how lost you've been. Some don't find each other in childhood, but find each other completely in adulthood.